This episode of Sports Addict Live After Dark brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. From now until January the 4th, First Round Collectibles has thousands of sports cards. That's right, thousands, up to 50% off. And right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get an additional 10% off. That's the promo code Sports Addict for an additional 10% off. If the card you want is 20%, you get it for 30. If it's for 30, you get it for 40, 50. You get the picture. 50, 60% off. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com. Enter the code Sports Addict for an additional 10% off. That's the number one, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beat's back. Adrenaline pumping through my
Hey,
veins.
welcome Sports Addict Live After Dark. The homie Tom Brown with me tonight. How you doing, bro?
Pretty good, buddy. It's a little too late to say Merry Christmas, a little too early to say Happy New Year. So happy Wednesday night. Big Raptors win. Happy that.
Yeah, we're caught in the middle. Crazy night in the NBA and in the NHL. Shameless plug. Join the NHL show tomorrow at 3:30, and we'll be breaking it all down. Winnipeg Jets, bro. I got some money riding on your boys right now, and it's a bit closer than I thought it'd be, but that's all right. That's all right. So first of all, man, I haven't seen you in a while. We haven't chatted a little bit, like Merry Christmas text. I'll just throw it out there. How was your holidays, bro? How we doing? How we feeling?
Holidays are good. Feeling tired. Feeling very full. Feeling like I've eaten everything
Yep.
twice. Yep. Big
Cool.
fat Tom. And yeah, it's pretty good. Went to the Safeway today. Got some V8 juice because I thought maybe that'll make it all okay. But yeah, pretty good. How about you? Good times with the family?
I love those remedies. Like you just like hear it somewhere that V8 juice is the cure, but
Yeah, I don't know.
It's all good over here, man. Yeah, lots of family time. I mean, you know how it is when you're older and you have some time off for the holidays. It's like, good to see family. That's what it's all about. The older you get, the more young children are around, who are wonderful, and they're full of joy and they're loud.
Yeah, and full of
So-
sugar at Christmas too, right? So yeah, that's good.
Restful. I wouldn't say restful. I wouldn't go there. But yeah, wonderful time. So over the holidays, the picture in the NFL got a little bit clearer, but also more confusing when it comes to the postseason. I haven't talked to you in a while. A lot of things have happened since we've talked. The Eagles lost 3 in a row, and the Cowboys were winning, and then they were losing, and the Niners looked unstoppable, and Brock Purdy was the MVP, and now he's not even close apparently. So right now, well, first of all, before we get to the standings in the NFL, what did you make of the Christmas Day games, specifically Baltimore and the Niners? And did it change your opinion on either one of those teams?
It didn't actually. I mean, I think we've talked, I believe it was week 9 when Baltimore just tore through Detroit like it was Detroit 3 years ago.
Yep.
And I thought, I've been saying, I think I said it on the show, that's the most complete team in the NFL. I think they're the favorites. I think Lamar is the the MVP. I thought so. Then we did talk about Brock Purdy as a potential MVP candidate. I think we settled on he's a good quarterback, but pump the brakes. And I think that proved to be true as well. 4 interceptions. It can happen to anyone. And it just so happened to happen to him against the best team in the AFC when they are the presumptive best team in the NFC. So, I don't think it changed anything that I saw. Having been boosting Baltimore's chances throughout the year, I definitely feel more confident that I wasn't off the mark there. The defense is so complete. The offense can play multiple kinds of games, and of course, we know the great Justin Tucker. Their special teams aren't going to be a problem for them. So I thought that was a sound thrashing, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and to me, like, I felt like watching the Niners when they play to the best of their abilities, they're unstoppable in many ways. But their defense still had certain spots that you could pick on.
Mhm.
And I personally feel like the Niners, they have so many, if not superstars, they have stars all over the field, both the offense, both the defense. They're all over the place. But Baltimore just has really solid punch you in the mouth players. I think it was Patrick Queen. I believe that's his first name. He was saying how, like, we play a brand of football that nobody wants to play. That's what I saw in that game. Is you have the Niners where when everything's moving well, they got the pass, they got this, they got McCaffrey, they get the pass out, but the Ravens will just, that's a really cute pass, boom. That's really cute that you're trying to stop us, boom. Like, there's just this like hard-nosed brand of football specifically for that division, right? For the Ravens,
for sure,
that the NFC just doesn't have. And I have a hard time, like, you play that game again. Typically, it's difficult to beat the same team twice. But if these two play each other again, and like I thought going into this game, it seemed like everybody was riding the Niners. And I thought 5.5 points was way too much. Like, to me, I was like, yeah, the Niners might win this game, but 5.5? Like, have you watched this Ravens team play?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah. And so the MVP conversation was Dak, then it was Purdy, and now it's finally Lamar. It probably should have been all along. They haven't had a weird, unbalanced schedule. I mean, this is no offense to Dak. He's had a great season. The numbers he was putting up against the soft part of his schedule were phenomenal. He's been good. He's been good in the hard parts of his schedule too. He hasn't cost them the games that they've lost. But MVP, no. Brock Purdy, I never really bought the MVP hype around him, but you could see it in a year where there wasn't a clear candidate. I don't know why everybody forgot about Lamar for a few weeks. What happened there? Everybody just sort of had a seizure. But he's the MVP.
I feel a little bit differently about this. Not that I don't think that Lamar deserves the MVP, because I do. However, if you look at the odds, Lamar's minus 200 now, right?
No.
Which is like runaway favorite, basically. He has to have some awful 2 weeks of football for that, right? And so you have CMC plus 650. You have Tua plus 800. You have Allen plus 800. You have Prescott plus 2,000, Hurts plus 4,000, Goff plus 15,000. If you're really feeling like a degenerate, you want to throw some Goff money in there. Purdy is in the middle now at plus 1,400. So right before Prescott, right beneath Josh Allen. And to me, like, I'm not saying he should be the MVP, but this is the craziness that is the National Football League, where you have this really good season that you played. Sure, he has pieces. Sure, he has, but you still have to get the
Yeah.
ball in the right guy's hands. Like, and for him to have the season he's had, he has one game, and all of a sudden he's not even in the conversation anymore. I thought that's a bit disrespectful personally. I'm not saying he should be the MVP, but at the same time, like to go from like I think it was plus 140 all the way to plus 1400 because of one game against the best team in the league. I don't know. I thought that was a bit much.
I mean,
But
I'd say that is by far too much, right? But only if you accept the premise that he should have been the favorite in the first place. He's probably where he should have been all along now, which is not bad at all. It's fine, right? It's not bad where he is. The hype
that's
about him is
debatable,
crazy.
but I get what
He's
you're
not
saying.
He's. I don't know how you want him, or how anybody is going to vote him MVP of the league when he's not the MVP of his own team. You know, it's not a case of having pieces; it's a case of being a piece.
Yeah,
You know?
but that's a quarterback award, bro. You know
It is typically, but the cases where it's not a quarterback award are cases typically where a wide receiver or a running back has a quarterback about the level that Brock Purdy is, which is a good quarterback who's not going to lose you a game, you know, who isn't going to cost somebody an MVP, but there isn't a clear candidate for the MVP, and somebody like a Christian McCaffrey could potentially, or a Tyreek Hill previous to his injury, but somebody in that to Brock Purdy at that level of quarterback.
Yeah. So moving on to the standings, you have Baltimore, Miami, Kansas City, Jags, which the Jags situation is fascinating because the Colts, the Texans are all tied with, or they're just behind the Jags. They're right there. And then you have in that number 5 spot the Browns, which to me, this is one of the coolest stories of the season for
So
me.
much fun. We just talked about the MVP race, and we didn't even. Where was Joe Flacco? Where was Joe? What are the odds on Joe Flacco making a late run?
I love that somehow Joe. I think what's a funnier part of this to me, and I'm sure, listen, the Jets, as a degenerate of a franchise as that franchise can be, I'm sure they had their reasons. They're smarter football people than me, at least. I can acknowledge that. But you have Zach Wilson, you have Stidham, or not Stidham, Simeon.
Mhm.
You have that. Who the heck was it? Boyle, who was
Tim
maybe
Boyle?
the worst quarterback. Yeah, which was maybe the worst quarterback we've seen the whole season. You have
I thought did Nathan Peterman touch the field?
I don't
Yet
think
this year?
so. I don't think
Then
so.
Tim Boyle's the
I
worst.
mean, he could have. He could have.
He is still. He's on a roster. He's rostered somewhere.
How Joe Flacco was cut from that team and is not single-handedly we all know the Browns defense. We all know how good that defense is. But to lose Chubb and at the first game of the year and to have the season they're having, it's amazing. And they're not just making it to the playoffs, like they're 10-5.
Mhm.
Like they're in the playoffs comfortably. Like it's not like they're just like, sneaking in last minute. And what I find really fascinating with this is at that 5 spot, they're going to face most likely although I don't know, Kansas City, that whole division, who knows what's going to happen there with that team. But most likely they're going to play the Jags or the Colts or the Texans. Even if they play Kansas City, which teams that I just listed are you scared of if you're the Browns?
The only one you'd be concerned about is the Chiefs, realistically, right? Well,
Would you?
I depending on where the line is, I'd probably be betting on the Browns. But yeah, I mean, credit where it's due. They're still the champs. But
I get it, man. But
I'd probably I'm not sure what the line would have to be for me to bet Chiefs in that game.
Sure.
I would favor the Browns. Joe Flacco's just they have the phrase in baseball, right? A professional hitter, but Joe Flacco's just a professional quarterback. He's good, man. They're a better team with him than they were with Deshaun Watson.
Of course.
There's a lot of funny stuff about all of this, right? Just the Jets piece is hilarious. The fact that Baker Mayfield is fantastic in Tampa Bay right now, and the Browns, earlier this season when they were floundering with Deshaun Watson and the previous backups, drawing a blank on here. I made the joke to a friend of mine who's a Browns fan.
And all those
right.
Guys. Yeah.
Man, if it's too bad the Browns couldn't have a real quarterback like Baker Mayfield. This is this season, this defense. You don't want to waste this with an unproven quarterback like Deshaun Watson. If they could just get a real pro in there like Baker. Yeah, there's a lot of hilarious pieces to this. It is probably the most fun. It is a little bit of an underrated, under the radar story, but the Browns being a feel good story is funny. Ed Stefanski's clearly the coach of the year. I would guess, right?
For sure.
D'Amico Ryans is pretty fantastic too. The turnaround, the rapid turnaround in Houston has been great, but the Browns are fun, and I would pick the Browns over any of those teams most likely.
I think so too, man. And like with the Browns, like to me, like maybe this isn't 100%, correct, but to me, I think that the Browns was like once Chubb went down, like Deshaun Watson's a tire fire. That's just what he is now.
He's awful.
I just figured, this team, the defense is great. And then all of a sudden they're 10-5, and it's like, this team's legit. And what this defense does for you as Joe Flacco is like, what you're getting with Joe Flacco. Like the guy, he's probably going to throw 1, maybe 2 picks a game. He's going to make some bonehead plays, a couple 3-and-outs, but then he is going
he's not the most athletic fella,
but he is going to put his players in position to make plays. Like Cooper had a record-breaking year or game the other day.
Yeah.
And that this defense just has to keep them in the game, and Joe Flacco is going to win. And to me, listen, with the Chiefs, I understand they're the champions. I don't think this is the end of the Chiefs era. We'll see what happens with the whole, Kelsey thing. Is this the end? And that conversation is going to happen the whole summer, right? Is it age? Is it this? Is it that? I think people blaming it on Taylor Swift. I've had enough of that. That's ridiculous. But this season, Patrick Mahomes does not have the players
he doesn't.
to win. And not only that, like the players that he does have, they are losing the game. Like they are making mistakes. It's not just that they're not, Randy Moss. It's that they are flat out making mistakes that are losing them the game. And
his receivers aren't Joe Flacco. They're Zach Wilson. That's what's happening here, right? That's what's going on.
Listen, I love Coach Reeder, right?
Yeah.
I have all the respect in the world. I don't think they're done. I'm sure they come out next year and they make this crazy run, and they probably win it next year. I'm just saying this year, what I've seen, I just don't think. And listen, the Raiders just beat you without scoring an offensive point. O'Connell, or whatever his name is, did not complete a pass after the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
That happened.
Got beat by a quarterback named Aiden. Yeah.
Right. No disrespect to the Aidens, but it's just
every Aiden that I know was a kid in my kid's class when she was in elementary school. That's
I know is making 6 figures working for like IBM or something. I don't know. I don't know.
That's better.
But yeah, it's not a bad thing. It is what it is.
Probably not a great quarterback.
I think the Browns are super scary. And to segue to another 5 spot, actually, sorry, 4 spot, but in the 4-5 game, I think the Browns could legitimately make a Super Bowl run, but I think they could go deep. Like, the only team that I would be scared of if I was the Browns would probably the Ravens. I think
the last time the Ravens won the Super Bowl, it was Joe Flacco getting hot at exactly this time of the year, and riding a really great defense through
these teams, right? The Bills almost blew the game to the Chargers, man. Like, all these teams are extremely gettable. Other 4-5 matchup that I'm really curious about, if it stands up the way it is right now, which it feels like it probably will, is the Bucs and the Cowboys. And this was the matchup last year.
It was
in Tampa Bay, and the Cowboys just handed it to them. It feels different this year. Like, if I was a Cowboys fan, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just getting caught up in the hype. I think the Cowboys should win that game. I think they probably will win that game. But you're telling me, like, we've seen this Cowboys team on the road all year, man. If they're playing on the road, you fade them. That's been the whole season. And they're going to Tampa Bay. That Bucs defense has been playing really well lately. Baker is Baker. I mean, Mike Evans is
red hot right now.
Dude,
red hot right now.
I don't think that's a walk in the park for Dallas this year, man. This team can't win.
That's a no lose for me. I love Baker Mayfield, right? It started as a joke. A good friend of mine's a Browns fan, so I spent the first several years of Baker's career just riding him constantly about Baker, because Baker's hilarious. Sure. It wasn't very good, but turns out actually, after it's all said and done, might be my favorite player in the league. I don't believe he's any good, but he's very fun for me. Can't help but cheer for him. He's such a weirdo. There's no losing there for me. So that's fun. If Baker loses, it'll be hilarious. And if Baker knocks off the Cowboys, the Baker hype, incredible. That 2021 offseason, right? There was 2 massive quarterback moves made. Deshaun Watson traded to Cleveland.
Yep.
Baker released, obviously, in the preseason following that. Went to Carolina, went badly. And the Russell Wilson trade to Denver. Russell Wilson. Now, they are technically on the periphery of the AFC wildcard race still, but Sean Payton's has already said he's benching Russ for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, Russ Wilson challenge trade? Like Dumb and Dumber, but Dead and Deader? While I'm here for chaos, I don't that would be hilarious to me.
Listen, I don't want to spend too much time on that. That Russell Wilson thing, everybody knew except for the Broncos that this was going to end in disaster.
The best 2 quarterbacks involved in all of that were Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith. Nobody had that on their bingo card. I think it's just terrific, But
well, so speaking of which, sort of to round out the conversation with the NFC, the Seahawks in the 7th spot. I don't think they're going to challenge anyone. I know that they've been playing okay, and I know they came back against the Eagles. I think that's kind of dying out. But that 6th spot with the Rams. Who wants to play the Rams right now, man?
Nobody wants that.
Like, I don't know. Stafford, to me, I was listening to a podcast today, and they were saying how Stafford will probably go to the Hall of Fame. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, what a quiet Hall of Fame career. Just in Detroit, never winning,
Yeah.
doing his thing, but being like awesome,
He was
but just
incredible.
not winning.
Go back and look
And
at his
going
numbers
to
from
the
his Detroit
Rams,
years.
winning
Unreal.
the Super Bowl. He's still like obviously health is the big thing for Stafford, but he's still like out of this world good. It's unbelievable. And Cooper Cup's been hobbled for most of the year. Like it's just
But Puka Nakua, and yeah, they've cobbled together like a really good wide receiver room. If we just talked about the Chiefs, if they could just have one of their castoffs, they'd be the favorites in the AFC, right?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
fantastic on the fly rebuild in LA. You wonder how much of it was accidental. If they knew Puka was going to be this good, they would have taken him higher.
So if the playoffs begin right now,
Mhm.
and if you're the Lions playing the Rams, I don't care if you're in Detroit. The whole knock on the Lions this year, the offense has been hot and cold, but if the offense is rolling, they have a good offense down there.
Mhm.
It's the defense can't stop anybody. That's been the case the whole year. And you have Matt Stafford going to your like that's not going to end well. If like you're the Eagles playing the Rams, we can have a whole other conversation about the Eagles. That defense doesn't want to see Matt Stafford. If you're the Niners, I think the Niners or the Rams defense doesn't want to see the Niners. But that Rams offense can move the ball on the Niners. I think the Rams are sneaky, man. I think
Yeah,
they're sneaky, and I
that
think
matchup and the Eagles matchup, I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't bet Rams, right? It wouldn't be overly surprising if they kept it close in either of those cases. But um, yeah, if I was Detroit, I would really not want to see them.
no, 100%. So let's talk about this for a sec, all right? So I haven't talked to you since the Eagles lost to the Niners and the Cowboys, and the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what I find really funny. So I'm an Eagles fan. I like wear it proudly. I try to be objective the best I can. I'm not perfect, but I try to be.
Mhm.
What I find so funny about this is you have the Niner and dude, Twitter, like I have this like, small little show. I do my thing. I have like 100 and something followers, and half of them are probably bots anyway. I just do my thing and I just have fun with it. After the Eagles lost to the Niners, I had Niners fans find me on Eagles fan threads from like a week before and just one after one just rip me apart.
Yeah,
The
you told me about this a little bit.
Dude, the Cowboys fans, same thing, dude. When the Eagles lost to the Cowboys, same thing. Same thing. Now, the Cowboys have lost 2 in a row.
Mm.
The Niners, now, we said at the beginning of the show, my opinion has not changed about the Niners, but the Niners just got smacked. Like,
They
once
got
that
beat up.
got out of hand, it was over, man, in a hurry. You knew Baltimore was winning that game pretty early. And all the excuses comes out and the defending comes out. But for whatever, when it's the Eagles, no excuse is good enough. You know what I mean? People just pile on this Eagles team. But when it's their team, it's no big deal. But when it's the Eagles, all hell's breaking loose. But you know what's funny? It's accurate. Like as in Eagles fan, and listen, I'm not from Philly. Okay, I've been to Philly many, many times. I've been to Eagles games in Philly. I've been around. I have Eagles fans in my life from Philly. Everyone was saying to me, like, you boo, like, during the Niners game, oh, like, you're booing, like, 10-1 team. Like, who do you guys think you are? Like, booing this team, booing blah blah blah. Who do you think you are? We have learned nothing new over the last 3 weeks as fans of the Eagles. This is the Eagles team, worse, but this is the Eagles team we've been seeing all year.
Mhm.
It's just finally catching up with them. This defense isn't all of a sudden getting rolled over. This defense has been concerning all year long. The offense, I mean, we could talk forever. Do you think this Eagles team can click? Because at the beginning of the season, and like by beginning, I mean the first 8-9 weeks, the conversation was this team keeps winning, but we haven't seen their best ball yet. And that's what is giving us confidence is we haven't seen their best ball and they keep winning. So the, sky's the limit. Do you think that the sky's the limit with this team? Because like the talent's there, but everything seems to be self-destructing. And I'm really curious to see what you think.
I think by this point of the season, you kind of are what your record says you are.
Right.
Absent injuries and other like season changing situations, of which there haven't been for Philadelphia. I think they're a second tier team in the NFL. They could absolutely click. They could absolutely win the Super Bowl. I wouldn't put them in the inner circle of contenders anymore, the way that I would have had them previous to the season and even through midseason.
Right.
But they're definitely in that second tier of, I could totally. Would I bet on them to win the Super Bowl right now? No. Would it surprise me to see them win the Super Bowl? Not at all. It require a little bit of fortune and some well timed, well played games, But they have the horses. They just have to get. They could click. They are not clicking right now, but they could easily click.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see. You would assume that they'll beat the Cardinals. They'll beat the Giants in the last week of the year. They're going to win the division still. We'll see what happens with the Niners. The Eagles might get the 1 seed still. You never know. But yeah, I'm really curious to see kind of what happens with there. Is there anything else with the playoff race that you want to touch on?
I don't think so. I think we got it all. I'll be really curious to see as these first round, like the divisional round or wild card round matchups get finalized. Maybe the Eagles, because the Eagles could clinch, or the Niners could clinch this week, and then the Eagles Giants in week 18 could just be a bunch of rested starters, right? But it'll be interesting to see that.
So there was one more thing I was going to ask you, but you know what? It escaped my mind. So with that, we'll take this 30-second break, and why don't we talk some basketball, bro?
All right, sounds good.
30 seconds. We'll be right back.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah, oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never ever
Welcome back, Sports Addict Live, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. A reminder, First Round Collectibles has thousands of sports cards on sale until January the 4th, up to 50% off. You get an additional 10%, not 50, that would be generous, but an additional 10% off with the promo code Sports Addict at firstroundcollectibles.com. All right, so admittedly, I've been doing this show for the NHL, not for the NHL, about the NHL for a while now, almost 2 months. And since then, I only got so much time, man. I'm a married man. I got a young child. I got a family. I'm doing my thing. And the NBA, I'm keeping an eye, but not super, super close. I got a couple questions. They're personally interesting to me. One of them is about my home team, the Toronto Raptors. Two other questions are about teams that I had thoughts on going into this season, and I'm curious as to what you think. Last year,
Let's finish up with the Raptors.
yes, I agree. Last year, the team that I was really curious about, that I thought was going to do really well, was the Sacramento Kings. And they came out, they did what they did last year, made it to the playoffs. That was a really fun story. This year for me, and it's exceeded my expectations so far. It's a two-parter, but I'll give you the first part first. I mean, naturally, the first part first. Oklahoma City, their over was pretty low this year. I believe it was like low 40s, and I took it in a heartbeat. What you're seeing from the Thunder so far this year, can this team make some serious noise in the Western Conference? To me, I feel like the only team that I'm really scared of if I'm the Thunder is the Nuggets. And even then, the Nuggets seem a little bit, gettable. But you have Jokic, you have Murray. I mean, you can't count those boys out. That's a phenomenal team over there. Not as deep as last year, but still a championship contending team. Oklahoma City, man, you think this team can make a serious run?
I do. I think just as constructed, without doing anything, they can absolutely make a run. They're fantastic. They're extremely deep. They're led by an MVP candidate in Hamilton's own Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yep.
Fantastic defensive stopper on the wing, Montreal's Lou Dort. And then a bunch of other really good players, just really good players, young players. They're ahead of schedule, but not by so much. They also have the pieces to make any trade they want. They have the most future first-round picks in the league. They have salary matching pieces. They have more young players than they can squeeze into their rotation.
Right.
A B squad of OKC Thunder, young players and prospects would not lose 27 consecutive games, a la the Detroit Pistons. They're terrific, and I think they are. A lot of people had them pegged as a breakout team. I think you did yourself. I certainly did.
Yeah.
They're definitely a home team. They're a home court advantage playoff team. I think they could win. Playoffs in basketball different from the regular season. I do think that they'll win a round, maybe two. Asking for too much more than that, things get real tight. Real tight. You saw with Sacramento last year, and they ran into Steph Curry in the first round, which is no fun for anybody. But it gets tough in the playoffs. But I think their first crack at the playoffs is not going to be embarrassing for them. I think they'll win a round, and then some. Health being equal. They're definitely there for real as quickly as now.
What encourages me about the Thunder is their depth, right?
It's unreal.
Like, we all know how this works with the playoffs for basketball. Like, the court gets smaller and the bench gets smaller, right? The bench gets shorter, and all those guys can shoot. They can all score. And I love watching that team, man. They're a lot of fun. and they're winning me money. Like, with
Just keep hammering them. Yeah, it's like a metronome, right? SJ is going to score 32 points
I'm
on 20
losing it
shots
somewhere
every
else.
single night. And yeah, they can guard. SJ's game is made for the playoffs. He does not need any space to get to his bag. You saw him in the World Cup this summer.
100%.
On the biggest stage, he's scared of nothing, and you can't guard him. He's just unguardable. So yeah, they're terrific. They're also super fun to watch, and even their blue and orange uniforms have grown on me. So yeah, that's about as feel good a story as there is in the NBA right now, especially for Canadian hoops fans. They have two terrific Canadians starting.
And you mentioned the Pistons 27 consecutive losses. So my bro from the 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time NHL show, Andre, he informed me today that the Winnipeg Jets back in the 1980, I believe, lost 30 games in a row. That was the North American sports record, 1980. The Pistons are about to break a record from 1980. And I was about to segue it to the Raptors because they play the Raptors on Saturday, I believe it is. And that game scares me to death. But first, I want to ask you about a team. I do not understand what this is in my own soul. I don't know. It's probably a me issue. Probably see my therapist next week. Maybe I'll bring it up. I hate cheering for the Timberwolves. I hate it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because Karl Anthony Towns got 0 points in a playoff game and then got like paid max. I don't know if it's because my mind is blanking. Freaking homeboy from the well, he
celebrated making the play like us winning the championship.
No, why is my mind blanking? The homeboy from the Jazz. He was traded from the Jazz. He's the guy from France.
Oh, Rudy Gobert.
He drives me insane as well. I can't. I don't know. Are the Timberwolves for real?
I still blame him for starting the pandemic. That was yeah.
His finest moment.
The T-Wolves are for real. I think they're not the Thunder. We had them playing. Those two teams played yesterday.
Yep.
In what should have been a Christmas Day matchup. I get it. The NBA has to pick these matchups before the season starts, but
yep.
Weird that like the New York Knicks, who the only thing that they've done interesting in the last 30 years is play their home games at MSG. Always seem to be there. And the two of the most interesting up-and-coming teams. There are a number of up-and-coming teams in the league that are exciting, but perhaps the two most interesting ones, OKC, who we touched on, and Minnesota, who you just asked about, played last night. The Thunder blew the doors off them. And there's nothing wrong with the Timberwolves. It's a bad matchup for them. The Thunder are just more athletic. But yeah, the Timberwolves are good. I fully expect them to continue to have a top 5 defense in the league. They're just built for that in the regular season. I'm less bullish on them in terms of their playoff chances, although I think Anthony Edwards is a fantastic player, a superstar.
Of course. Phenomenal.
Should get some All-NBA love this year. But yeah, they're definitely for real. The Thunder we just talked about, right, can kind of spoil you because of their embarrassment of riches. The amount of future assets that you can dream on that they have, because they have all these first round picks, they have all these young players, they can't even roster all their players, right? The Timberwolves are not in that situation. The Timberwolves traded all of their future for the team that they have now. Now Anthony Edwards is the superstar that you want to play, that you want to build around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they identified that and they built around him, and they're going to be very good for quite a while. And so, yeah, there's nothing fluky about them being at the top of the West, and maybe even the top of the league by record by the end of the season.
So, Tom, listen to me. You are a smarter basketball mind than I am, all right? I'll be the first to admit it. I have no problem with that. I told you at the beginning of the year that this Raptors team did not make sense. I told you they have no vision. I would never say that they don't know what they're doing. I'm sure they know what they're doing. They're just wrong. What future do you see with this Raptors team? And why is Masai so stubborn to think that all these players can
Why
be
the
part of a championship run anytime in the near future? Like, you let Fred walk for nothing. You didn't let Lowry walk for nothing. You got Precious. I mean,
So
for whatever.
Precious is out of the rotation as of today. They won tonight. They changed their starting lineup and changed their rotation. Precious
Right.
Achua and Malachi Flynn were not in the rotation. Precious did get in the game in the second half because Jakob Poeltl, who was apparently worth a first-round pick last year, was in horrible foul trouble. So the guy that they tried to bench had to come in and play in the third quarter. They won the game by 30, so both of those guys also played. Precious and Malachi both played garbage time as well. As far as what the Raptors are doing and why Masai has been so stubborn, I have no clue. You would think with MLSE being the owners, right, and they provide so much content for both TSN and for Rogers Sportsnet, a full teardown, the likes of what we saw from OKC recently, is not something that they're ever going to sign off on, and I get that. And as a fan, I'm actually fine with that. The last great era of Raptors basketball that resulted
Really?
in
You
it.
are fine with that?
2019. I don't want a full rebuild. There's no guarantee a full rebuild is ever going to bear fruit. The Detroit Pistons are supposed to be coming out of their full rebuild right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last Raptors era,
man.
the last Raptors era
Pistons-
of prominence that just ended a couple of years ago, right? That bore a 2019 championship. That was 10 years ago, 2013. They didn't bottom out. When Masai was hired, they just traded Rudy Gobert. Now you can't get that lightning in a bottle twice. But the point of the rebuild,
Rudy
right?
Gay, by the way. Yeah, Rudy Gay.
Yeah, not Rudy Gobert. Sorry,
Yeah.
Rudy Gay. The point of the rebuild, right? Like what the process Sixers did with all those first round picks. Who did they wind up with? By the way, right? They wound up with one guy, Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons ain't it. They traded him for another guy who wasn't it. They traded that guy for some role players and future first round picks. The other guy that they have, their second best player, was a 22nd overall pick. I believe it was their own draft pick. The point of the rebuild is to get the one star, right? Like the Wolves got Anthony Edwards. That's the one star that you build around, and they built around him, right? The Raptors already have their one star. That guy, Scotty Barnes, there's no ceiling on him. So I don't think that a full rebuild is necessary. What the Raptors are doing, not committing to a direction though, not taking a step to the side, you can't keep this team together. It's a cap league. They'd be way over the luxury tax if they try to re-sign OG and Pascal and Gary Trent, I suppose, in free agency this year. So I mean, yeah, in retrospect, not trading Pascal last year's trade deadline doesn't look great. The Kyle Lowry kind of revisionism on that. No, Precious is not great and was not a very good return, right?
Yeah.
But also that was doing a solid to the greatest Raptor of all time, right? That's not something other players, other agents around the league know that, and that's a one-off. You don't do that for every guy who's your best player as a free agent. You do that for Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
And never again for anybody else, right? That's a special circumstance.
For
Before that, though, why did Marc Gasol leave with nothing in return? Why did Serge Ibaka leave with nothing in return? And then after that, losing Fred VanVleet,
that's the one.
Surprised
That's
everybody. The one. Nobody thought he was going to get a max contract. And I think you got to. That's I don't know. Bad roster management, yes. Also very surprising, yes. Yeah,
but the
I
thing
think it's time.
Is like we all watched the Raptors last year.
Okay? Oh God, they were awful to watch.
I know that Nurse
almost as bad as this year.
I know that Nurse and the players had a disconnect, and I know that Fred had these issues with the young players and all this stuff. I get it. But we all knew Fred's not the future of this team.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew it. So you expected to re-sign him. Okay. I wouldn't have liked that either.
No, I think the
Like,
play
you're
was to
signing
trade him
for
at
what?
the reported offer from the Clippers last year for Fred was, I think it was Brandon Boston, Luke Kennard, and a first round pick, something like that, which is not great, right? That's not a great offer. You know what is so much better than 0 picks,
Yes.
0 players, you know, because that's what they wound up with. Luke Kennard can shoot the three. Brandon Boston's fine. He could play. He'd be one of the best players on the Raptors bench now, you know. So would Kennard, but injury notwithstanding. But yeah, it wasn't great. He wants these star level returns for players, right? That's what he wants to. If he's going to sell somebody, he wants peak value. Well, you're running out of time now. The trade deadline is February 9th, I believe. Everybody's available to be traded in 2.5 weeks. I think you'll see my tea leaf reading and just kind of consuming an awful lot of Raptors content, media, and etc. Is that Pascal will be traded. I don't know for what, but they don't. This won't be a full tear down. I don't know. And OG has been playing tonight. Tonight he had 26 points. He shot the ball well. Was engaged on defense against a team that's terrible. So I don't know really what we saw. Whether that is it a thing or not a thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
But if OG wants to stay, you keep OG. He's the right age to
like
build with
OG.
Scotty. He's only 26. He's all defensive player, all defensive team caliber defender. He's probably underrated on that end. At that, he's one of the best defenders in the league.
He's a good player.
Full stop. And a 40% 3-point shooter, right? On a team where he's the only threat, so everybody remembers to close out on him. He doesn't get a lot of open ones, you know. He's the one you keep. Gary Trent Jr. is not a very big piece, right? He's just we got him for Norm Powell, who was a second-round pick himself. He was a second-round pick himself. He's a good outcome for a second-round pick, but you don't build your team around him. You know, he's a shooter.
No.
You hope they develop and become as good as Norm was. But when they don't, they're still useful. He'll get a contract in free agency. I don't think you worry about trading him. If you can get a couple seconds for him, there's some salary filler or whatever, then you do that, whatever. But it's Pascal or OG that you have to, really have to. I don't know that you want to trade both. I doubt very highly that Masai wants to trade both.
I don't care.
I think it's Pascal's the one who's most likely to go.
The thing is, Tom, is that I don't mind this team losing. I don't. Sometimes you have to lose to get better. That's just the way sports are with the cap era. That's just the way it is. I'm not saying full rebuild. I'm just saying, if you're losing with players that can get you pieces, like you're losing with no direction. That's the issue.
And that's what they've been doing. Stuck in neutral.
Losing's fine. Yeah. If we got the championship, dude, the Raptors had a solid 10 years of awesome basketball.
One of the second most games in the NBA over the last decade.
You gotta remember when the Raptors were winning those games, the Leafs sucked. The Blue Jays had 2 good years. Like Toronto sports was awful. And the Raptors was the ray of hope. And it was awesome.
And it paid off. We got, it's in Toronto, it's a Toronto team. For Canada, the Raptors and the Jays really are the country's team, right?
100%.
And so I don't follow hockey. I don't think the Jets have done particularly well for the most part. The Jays are we signed Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, so
yeah, I don't want to talk about that right now.
You'll notice Shohei's gone. But
my point,
the Raptors have been a constant source of, and it paid off too, man. It paid. That was the other thing, right? Yeah, they were a ray of light. There was something to invest in emotionally as a fan. There's something that united a lot of people, right? That's what we like
Mhm.
sports for in a big way. But also that time it paid off. They they that time LeBron didn't beat them in some magical, really infuriating way. That time like they got the last laugh. They won.
And it was too bad
We didn't
how
even know how to react.
like the COVID, like the year COVID happened, the Raptors were on their way to at least challenging to repeat
They
without
were
Kawhi.
they were
That
the
was
best team. They were the
phenomenal.
best team in the East. They were on
The
pace for
bubble,
60 wins. Yeah.
they took Boston to a game 7 in the bubble semifinals in one of the worst officiating games that I remember seeing. I'm sure
Just
there was more, but I don't remember.
if
And
Pascal had
the
just
year
had a if
after,
Pascal could have just quarantined somewhere where he had a basketball and access to a weight room, they win that series.
sure. But then the
Like,
next year, to be in like Tampa Bay for the whole season, like the way that team kind of dissolved was unfortunate. I get it, but it's over and it's time to move on. It's time for a different direction. And
and the Tampa tank gave us Scotty Barnes, right? And for all the hemming and hawing about the Messiah and the decisions he has made, or more likely we complain about the decisions he hasn't made because he hasn't made decisions, right? They've been stuck
yeah,
in neutral, not doing things. But he picked Scotty Barnes, who is the best player in that draft.
yeah, that's
Fourth. He
phenomenal.
picked him fourth, and everybody had them on Jalen Suggs, who went fifth to Orlando. Jalen Suggs had a great March Madness tournament. He was a point guard, which the Raptors obviously needed because after the championship, Kyle's contract was up. He was obviously moving on, and they
Right.
zigged. They zigged when everybody thought zag, and that seems to have worked out. They've got the only real well. Actually, Alperen Şengün in Houston looks like also a blue chip future All NBA player. But those are the two best players in that draft.
All I'm saying is you got Pirtle last year for a
Yes.
first round pick.
Yeah.
If they finish in the bottom 10, which they may,
Mm.
that first round pick is not yours.
It's top 6 protected, not top 10.
Top
It's
six
top 6.
protected. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
finish in
top
the bottom
six.
6.
But that's possible as well.
This is also the worst draft in the last probably 20 in the
Fine.
NBA.
Fine. I'm just saying,
This doesn't mean
why?
anything.
You know what I mean? Why?
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
this
I don't know why.
conversation's making me more angry than anything else.
Mhm.
This was a good Sports Addict Live After Dark, man. Is there anything else that you want to touch on tonight? Where you at?
We'll come back in a few days and finish off a couple of things that we wanted to do. I think we wanted to get into. I want to hear more about hockey, so maybe we should do after dark. You can catch me up on some of the. Give me the explain the 2023-24 NHL season to me like I'm a toddler.
It's been a phenomenal season, man. I'll just tell you that much. The Jets have had your Winnipeg Jets have had a terrific season. They robbed me blind tonight. I had a lot of money riding on them. Not a lot of money, but I had my bets riding on them tonight, and they didn't come through, and I'm a little bit bothered by it. But phenomenal for anyone watching who was following the show that we had this afternoon. We picked the Coyotes to beat Colorado, and Colorado was winning that game 4-0, and the Coyotes came back and they won it 5-4 in overtime, which was a crazy game. The NHL's been crazy this year, bro. We'll absolutely come back. We'll talk NHL after the weekend. There'll be the football picture will be much more clear. And we'll have a lot more to talk about. Tom, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Can I get a quick plug in here for
Yeah.
anybody who's interested in U Sports? You should probably check out U Sports. There are colleges, universities, every major city in Canada. with U Sports teams. The quality of play is fantastic this weekend in Winnipeg. The Westmen are hosting the Duckworth Classic this year. It's men's volleyball. It's a rotating tournament. Check out our YouTube page. That's Westman Athletics on YouTube. We'll be live streaming both. There's games going on in 2 courts at Duckworth Center. It's going to be an orgy of men's volleyball, completely insane. And this is a non-season tournament, so it should be fun. We've got some fun stuff. Wesley, the mascot, etc. And then check out usports.ca or cw.tv, and just sometime during the season, games start back up for real next weekend. Check out basketball, men's and women's. You can preview games. It's cheap to pay for one game or whatever package you want to do. Online, it's extremely high quality sports. Like the level of play in U Sports in Canada used to be CIAU, used to be CIS.
It's good.
Now it's called U Sports. The quality of play is so high, you have no idea. It's getting so much closer to what we kind of get used to watching on TV from our neighbors to the south, and it's just underrepresented in the media. I don't know why, but do yourselves a favor, check it out. Starting this weekend, men's volleyball, Westman Athletics on YouTube.
Love it, bro. Absolutely love it. Do yourself a favor, check that out. Tom, thanks for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great evening, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Don't forget, first round collectibles, 10% off, promo code Sports Addict. I'll be back with the homies tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. The NHL.
Go hard.